Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. One day I'm not going to do hand motions, but that day is not today. Welcome. I started very punctual this time. I usually wait a little bit past, and I'm going to hear myself back in a second. Oh god, okay. But hello everybody, welcome to the live stream, announced last minute as always, but thank you for being here. Let me make sure I don't have 100 versions of myself playing back. All right. So please say hi in the chat if you feel so inclined. We're going to do a Q&A, but I'm also going to just play and practice. A lot of people have been asking for that, and I haven't done it in a while, so I figured why not? On a nice lazy Sunday, play some cello. So because I started so punctual, I'm going to give it like another, a few minutes for people to get here, 2 minutes or so. I might tune up a little bit. If you're watching the replay, you can go ahead and skip a couple minutes in if you don't want to watch nothing happen for the next 120 seconds. Hi, everybody. Hello, and welcome, and happy Sunday. It is warm today in Los Angeles. In fact, I haven't been outside in a while. Let's see what temperature it is. 86 and unhealthy air quality. Sounds about right. So I have my AC in this room off for the live stream because it's too noisy, but we'll see how long I last, especially with playing without the air conditioning on. How are you guys doing? All right, I guess what I'm going to do while people get here is I'm going to tune and then maybe play a scale, get warmed up, but I am going to be actually playing a little bit today. I picked out, a couple little things. And I haven't had a good practice session in quite a while, so we'll be doing this together. And as always, if anything's weird with the audio or anything, just let me know. And I did not even plan ahead enough to get questions ahead of time, but usually we have some good ones just in the chat, so we'll see what happens with that. Hello everyone, if you're just joining, we're going to be doing some talking and hanging out and some questions. I'm going to practice a little bit. Please say hi in the chat. Make yourself at home. You are in my home for the duration that you're watching this video. You are now in my home. So, let's get this party started. Hopefully the cello will not be too loud if I don't do any mic adjustments. You guys can let me know as always. Hello everybody just joining. All right. It's definitely been a while since I played on stream or really just played a lot on my own too. But I'm happy to do this today. And I felt like I tuned my cello a couple times today. And it feels like a good cello day. We're going to find out. But I'm sure anyone who plays an instrument knows it's like you sit down with your instrument and you feel it. If you're a string player, you bow a little, or you're a wind player, you blow a little air in. And it's like you can feel right away if it's going to be a good day for playing or not. Like just the way your instrument responds or the way I don't know what it is. I usually blame the instrument, but maybe it's actually us. But either way, every day is different when you come to your instrument. You just never know. But today feels good so far. All I've done is tune, but it still feels good. My friend Laura just told me that she's watching. Hi, Laura. Everyone who doesn't know Laura should, because we recorded an amazing album together last year. But so if you're watching this video and you're like Laura and you don't know how to chat in the chat window, you have to have a YouTube account for one. So usually they just link it with Google. Like you have to be signed in. And then once you're signed in, there should be a chat there and you can just type stuff in. It should be pretty self-explanatory. But you do have to have an account on YouTube. Okay. What am I going to do? I'm going to play a scale and get warmed up. And so the way we're going to do the Q&A today, just ask questions at random. Whenever you have them, just throw them in the chat. I'm going to be checking back on the chat often. So I'll just take the questions when I'm in breaks between playing. And the playing today is going to be very informal. Like I said, I haven't played in a while. I'm going to warm up a little bit, and then I'm just going to play some unaccompanied rep, which I have so much of from my 2 unaccompanied albums, so I'm probably going to revisit some of those pieces. But for now, there's Laura. Everyone say hi to Laura. All right, time for a scale. Though if I were Laura and I was a busy violinist, I would not want to sit around and watch someone play scales, but I appreciate that she's in here. Let's do a scale, and I'm going to do one of my favorite bow strokes, which my old teacher, Phoebe Karai, called the long, short stroke, but it's basically like a long bow with 2 small notes on either end. And what's great about this bow stroke is it really wakes up the fingers because you have to use the finger movements to do the smaller bow strokes. So I'm going to do my long, short bow stroke on a nice and easy C major scale to get warmed up here. Oh, you can't quite see my bow. I'm going to back up just a little, or I can actually do this. Here we go. C major scale. Done. Let's call it for today. Just kidding. We're just getting started. Hopefully cello volume is okay. I know my voice is going to be quieter than the cello, but hopefully you can all still hear me. If you just joined or you joined recently, hi, welcome, happy Sunday. We're just chilling today. I always do a Q&A like once a month on YouTube. So this is a Q&A. You can throw questions in the chat anytime, and I'm going to be checking. But I'm also just going to be practicing because so many people have said they really miss the practice streams and the more they want to see me play more. So I wanted to do a little bit of that today too. So I'm kind of combo warming up, and then I'm going to play some repertoire a little bit later. So what do you play on the Strat? I actually don't. So that's this Fender Stratocaster, this guitar, which is still new to me. I got it for my birthday this year, but it looks just like one that I had when I was a teenager. And I actually can't play lead guitar really at all. I mean, I learned a little bit of lead guitar when I was, hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that. So I learned a little, I wouldn't even say I learned lead guitar. I learned like one sublime guitar solo when I played electric guitar when I was like a preteen. But I'm mostly a rhythm guitarist, so when I got the electric, like I learned on acoustic and mostly just played chords. And then I got the electric when I was really into like kind of more like punk and like, I don't even know if you would really call it punk music. I was into a lot of ska music too, and I don't even know the genres now of like some of the rock music that I listened to back then, but like a lot of power chords and stuff. So like I got the electric guitar so that I could play like power chords and play with a lot of distortion. But I never really actually learned lead guitar. And sometimes now I think like, I should learn lead guitar because it can't be that much harder than playing cello. But just, it's only so many hours in the day, only so many instruments that I can play on so many levels. My cello is a German-made instrument from the 1950s by, I think Roth is the maker, and it was converted Baroque in probably the 80s, but it is not fully Baroque. But it is a semi-hybrid, partial Baroque, and was in this partial setup when I got it. So the cello was used to being this way. It's more baroque style when I got it, even though it was built a modern cello in the 1950s. When playing or recording a new piece, I know my eyes look crazy when I'm reading, guys, that I'm reading from very far away, so don't mind my really insane stare that I am doing for long distance reading. When you play or you're recording a new piece, how do you go about creating an interpretation? Do you listen to recordings to inform your decisions? That's a great question. So for me personally, and this was actually something I found really interesting, when I was in my master's program, there was a voice teacher in my department who told all her students to not listen to recordings when they were learning a new piece. Basically forced them to find their own musical interpretation before listening to recordings. And I thought that was a really, really interesting idea. And I'm not that hardcore about it, but a lot of the repertoire that I've played and recorded has been sort of obscure repertoire where there's very few recordings out there. So that's worked to my benefit in that I don't listen to a recording and then, accidentally steal those ideas without even thinking about it. But I like to come up with my own interpretation first, and at least for historical music, there are a lot of rules about musicality and phrasing because the composers were not dictating all of that in the score the way they did in the years that followed. So in order to play Baroque music musically and expressively, you just have to know basic conventions and rules anyway, which you study if you study historical performance. So you should be equipped to come up with your own musical interpretation just based on your knowledge of the music without having to listen to someone else's recording. And if you don't know how to do that, that's definitely something to ask your teacher about or learn more about on your own, because if you come to a piece of music without the recording in your mind first, that's really how all the performers of the time period were. They were, of course, not listening to reference recordings. So it's great to have that clean slate. And then, I do think for bigger, pieces, of course, Bach cello suites, stuff like that, of course I had heard recordings before I learned the pieces myself. But for the Bach cello suites, for example, I had like 5 different recordings as a teenager and listened to all of them. So it's really important to kind of, if you're going to listen to a lot of different things so you hear what the options are and you get a better idea of, okay, that's that own performer's, take on it, not so much as this is what the composer intended and the performer is just carrying it out. So, and also for me, musicality has always been the easiest part, like actually being able to technically play my ideas and being able to be proficient on my instrument was much harder for me than the musical part. The musical part just came really natural for me. So I was sort of lucky in that sense. Like Baroque music specifically always just made sense to me when I heard it without any teaching. So I'm a little bit just blessed in that way, but then still studying the stylistic conventions and what makes something expressive. Like, for example, dissonant intervals are going to have generally a louder dynamic because we're going to want to bring them out more, and little things like that can also inform your musical interpretation of a piece. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to keep playing. Maybe I'll do another scale because I think what I was going to play first was some of these Dall'Abaco Capricci. So I never do this right. I recorded these on my second album, Bass Sounds Evolved, which is on Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. And these are unaccompanied cello pieces from around the same time as the Bach cello suites, but pretty different musically. But really nice pieces, and I like them, and I've recorded them and played them a lot, so I thought they would be fun to revisit. And the one I want to play, or at least kind of practice and play, is number 3, which is in the key of E flat. So I thought I would do an E flat major scale before diving in. Gotta get all the cracks out. That's how you know you haven't played in a while, when the cracks start immediately. Stretching is very important, by the way, if you play any instrument that uses your body, but particularly string instruments. Okay, we're going to do an E flat major scale, and what bowing am I going to do? I will do 4 16th notes on each note, and I'm going to do that because a lot of this piece that I'm about to play is 16th notes. So I always like to choose my bowings based on the rep that I'm about to play. So I do all different bowings for my scales based on the repertoire. So since we got a lot of 16th notes that are separate bow, I'm going to do separate bow 16th notes on my scale. And you know, one other thing that I think will be a good thing to do for this is do some thirds in E flat. And all string players should practice thirds and sixths, basically double stops, because it's really great for just framing the left hand. And especially if you have an awkward key or something, it's just a good thing to do. So I'm going to slowly work through and do some thirds in the key of E flat before I play this E flat piece. Not super familiar with tempered tuning or non-equal temperament tuning, which is what I'm doing on this Baroque instrument. We're basically listening for pure thirds, so that means the major thirds are going to sound lower than they do in equal temperament, or they're going to sound a little flat. But they are not actually flat, it's a different tuning. I'm not going to do a temperament lecture. I'm just not in the mood today, but I'm going to do these thirds now. I'm speaking today. Fours and ones are so weak. That's how you know I haven't been practicing. Expected it to be, especially in this heat, which I realized that the whole not having the air conditioner on, which I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, is only going to get worse as time continues. Oh, look, my cat's here. Daisy, you want to say hi? She might become needy. Oh, Lucas, thank you so much for the super chat. And I see there's questions in here, so let me get to you guys. Make sure my cat has everything she needs. I want to cool down after playing those thirds anyway. Okay. I'm going to take Lucas's question first since he was so generous to give us super chat. I just got into Baroque, so how much should I tighten my bow? It's pretty much the same as a modern bow. The shape, of course, looks different, so it looks like it's tight. But that doesn't actually mean that you don't have to tighten it to make it this shape. The bow is this shape regardless. So like right now my bow is, it's a little tight. Let's say I loosen it. Let's get the whole thing in the shot there. So now the bow is, it still could be looser. Let's see. Hi, sweetie. I'll show you guys Daisy in a second. Okay, so this is now pretty loose, but the bow is still basically the same. So everyone has a different preference, especially with the response of your instrument, and if you're getting used to playing on gut strings. So you don't feel that you have to overly tighten the bow. Play around with what gets you the best response on the gut strings, but that's going to take a while anyway. I guess I like a slightly on the tighter side, but this is not overly tightened, and I would not advise that you do that. What I do on my modern bow is just make sure you can move the stick a little bit when you apply pressure, but not so easily touch the stick to the hair. So same as modern in terms of tightness. What do you need, Daisy? I want to show you to everybody. It's like, not everybody comes to these streams to see my cat, but I'm not giving you guys an option. Also, it's like, I know she wants attention, so if I'm just a little bit annoying with her right now, she might leave me alone later. Okay. Do you have a favorite Baroque piece you can recommend, not Bach? Yeah, I'm not good with favorites. I just don't like to choose favorites in anything. And my favorites are always changing. But if it's not Bach, I really like French Baroque music, especially like harpsichord and gamba music. So like music by Couperin on the harpsichord, both Francois and Louis Couperin. But Francois Couperin is the one that most of us know. I really like the harpsichord music. Gamba music. I like a lot of the music that is just a little removed from cello, just because we can only listen to our own repertoire so much before we get really sick of it. So French gamba music like Moret, I'm a really big fan of too. So I would say like the French guys I like a lot. I like early Italian too. I mean, I could go off for a while. So you asked for a favorite piece, and I just gave you composers and general pieces. But there's just too much music to pick a favorite. But if you haven't explored the French Baroque, I really do. Couperin, Moret, Lully, Rameau, all good big French composers to look into. All right, bye, Michael. Thanks for stopping by. Okay. Let's see. So if you joined recently, guys, you can ask questions anytime. I'm doing a Q&A, and then I'm just like playing in between the Q&A. Easy Baroque solos for cello that could be adapted to viola. I know you poor violas have no repertoire, like none. Though, if you're looking for Baroque repertoire for viola, Flackton is a composer that I knew nothing about, but a good viola friend of mine. We played some Flackton sonatas together, and if you search my channel, you should be able to find it, or go to the playlist on my channel called Baroque Chamber Music and look for it. So Flackton sonatas are actual Baroque repertoire for viola, which is rare. But other things that could be, I mean, obviously all cello repertoire adapts to viola pretty easily because the strings are the same. Let's see. Other Baroque solos. I mean, people play the Bach cello suites on viola all the time. And then you could try the Gabrieli Richercars, which are like big Baroque, 17th century Baroque cello pieces. They'd be a little weird on viola, but they would work. I mean, you said no viola jokes, but it's kind of hard not to. When you're thinking about putting cello music on viola, like you do compromise a bit. But check out the Flackton sonatas, just to see what they're like. All right, Bieber is definitely fun. No solo Bieber for cello, of course. Cello is just accompaniment in Bieber's world. All right. It's getting hot. It says it's still only 81 in here, but feels like 83 if you ask me. All right, I'm going to play some of this Dall'Abaco like I said I was going to. And if you like this piece, I'm not going to like perform it right now. I'm just going to kind of practice it and play around on it. But I do have recordings of it on my albums on Spotify, which if you don't want to search for the composer names, just search for Emily Davidson on Spotify. And when you see the picture of me with the cello, that's me. Okay. I can just sense Daisy's energy right now, and she's like ready to be a distraction. So we'll see what happens. I gotta back up again if you want to see my bow. Okay, so this is the third Capriccio by Dall'Abaco. Like I've said a couple times and still haven't played it. In E flat. Which, despite being a pretty difficult key to play in, is one of my favorite keys. Today, who knows? There it is. Let's try that again. I think I loosened my bow. That's the first half, and I'm going to stop because I'm hot and sweaty and I'm taking breaks today because the air conditioner's off. Alright, let's see what you guys said. Did they have metal wrappings for lower strings in the Baroque? Yeah, they did. So it was silver typically that they used. It was not steel, which is of course what our modern steel strings are made out of, but silver is typically what they wrapped the lower strings. But not as often as we see them now. Like now, anytime you buy lower gut strings, they're almost always wound in silver. And I think they actually played on open gut on the bottom strings more often, but they did have silver wound gut strings, especially on like, like an actual bass or something with really, really thick strings, you would see it. So this music, everybody asks me about this because this edition, which is the white print edition of this Dall'Abaco Capricci, it was out of print for a while, and it was really hard to get. For a while, you could order it from Sheet Music Plus, but it took like 6 weeks. So I have not tried to order it or recommend it to anyone in at least a year, so I'm not sure what the current status is. I do know it was like back ordered / out of print for a long time. But I would just search for that Dall'Abaco Capricci, and you wanted to make sure that it's this Dall'Abaco. His dad, who is a different, what was his dad's? I don't know, but Joseph Marie Clement is who you want, and the white Prince edition. So I would just put that into Google and see which sites currently have it, because like I said, it was kind of in and out for a while. But it's a good edition because it does have modern print. The facsimile, I believe, is on imslp.org, which is where I get tons of my public domain music, but unfortunately the manuscript is pretty hard to read. They have it printed here in the back of this book, and I do not really recommend learning off of this manuscript copy. It's just not quite legible, or it's legible, but it's just not ideal. And you guys know I love the facsimiles, the handwritten copies, but when they're neat. So the modern print is definitely good to have. Okay, well that was only the first half of that, so let's keep going. I'm going to back up. I'm surprised I got through some of this passage. Again, you guys, like I said, I hadn't played yet before the stream started today, and I haven't played this piece in a while, and I was like, I remember, this is going okay. And then I fell off. I will back it up and back it up a couple measures. Since we're calling this a practice session, I should actually practice and not just play things through at 75%. Bye, Lucas. Thanks for stopping by. Let's do some of that again, a little slowly, and get these fourth finger trills warmed up a little. Everyone knows fourth finger trills are the hardest and the worst, and these Dall'Abaco Capricci are full of fourth finger trills, especially like whole movements that just fourth finger trill. So it gets fatigued really fast, and then it tightens, so then it's harder to do the trills. So I'm going to do some of these passages a little slower, and work on that. That's the hardest one. Ending. I've always loved it, still love it. I love anything where the top line stays the same and the bass line changes, or the chord progression changes, but the top part stays the same. I just love that. It's one of my favorite things in music. It exists in popular music really all the time. It's something that's existed for a while, and I don't know, there's something about it that I just love, the idea of the same note having a completely different emotional feeling and context because what is happening below is changing. So like in this last passage, which I'm going to play again just to indulge myself, we have with the melody line, it's really just that. Pretty simple little thing, but underneath is the bass line changing while the melody stays the same. So I'm going to play it again so you can all appreciate it. Hi, welcome. And thanks for all you guys for being here at all. And thank you for just hanging on my live streams. I know I always announce them so late or completely last minute, so I love that you guys show up last minute. And if you joined somewhat recently, I'm practicing, but I'm also doing a Q&A, so throw any questions you want in the chat. I'm taking breaks in between I play to check in with the questions. Right now I'm playing some Dall'Abaco, so I'm going to play this ending again, and you guys can listen for the changing bass line and the melodic line that stays the same. Someone asking me to play Pachelbel's Canon. That would be a fun stream. Just 1 straight hour of Pachelbel's Canon. Bach Courant. I can do a Bach Courant. I was going to do Dall'Abaco, but I can jump over to some Bach. Because I did make it through the end of that one. So, I'm going to do the first suite Courant. Because the first suite is the easiest one to bust out without any preparation. So, and we'll see what happens. You guys who watch my live streams are all so nice to me, so I know I can play and mess up and you'll all still be nice. So, Bach Courant. I don't think I'm going to do the repeats. We'll see. I'll try to play through the whole thing, though. So we're at E flat and we're into G major now. Okay, no more requests for fast movements in the heat. Like I said, my air conditioner's not on, guys. It's too hot for fast notes. Good, glad you guys liked that one. So, let's see. Got about 15 more minutes. I actually was not planning, let's see if we got, on the rare off chance that we actually got any questions on Instagram, but I didn't even really ask for them. I guess I asked for them on my story. So let's see if anyone actually, I don't think we got any questions this time. Yeah, not really. Okay. So about 15 more minutes. So if you guys have questions, definitely throw them in there. Let's play. What else do I want to play today? Oh, one thing that I did bring that I haven't done in a while that I was thinking about playing was Dall'Abaco etudes. Any cellist is going to know these bad boys. They're not exactly historical. These are like early classical etudes, and for those who don't know, an etude is basically comes from the French word étudier, which means to study. So it's like a little exercise. But they actually make cute little pieces, and I recorded a few of them on Bass Sounds Evolved as little pieces. And I was surprised at how musical they could actually be. And I almost get like a thrill out of taking something that's really simple and not that musical and making it musical is really fun for me. Way more than playing something hard and not being able to even make it musical at all. I'd much rather play something easy and boring and make it musical, because I once had a friend who said only boring people get bored, and I was like, that sums it up for me. If you're bored, just use your mind and figure out how to not be bored. But yeah, so, and I'm taking that sentiment and putting it to music, and that if you find a piece of music boring to play, maybe you're doing something wrong to make it boring. Just saying, you can always do something to make music interesting. play one of these Dall'Abaco etudes. What books do you recommend for beginners? So if you're brand new to cello, you definitely want to be studying with a teacher who's going to be deciding your music for you. I use all the Suzuki books for my students who are studying regular modern cello. I use the Suzuki books for repertoire. I do not teach the Suzuki method specifically, though, because Suzuki method is kind of, it puts off note reading and music literacy in favor of technique. And I generally do them both together, music literacy and technique. So I don't follow Suzuki method, but I do like the books for repertoire. Do you ever change your mind about musical decisions, like listen to your albums and wish you played something differently? Really interesting question. So for all the albums, I put so much thought into how I was going to do the musical phrasing for everything on those albums, like really, really thought it out a lot. And for anyone who's listened to those albums knows that I take like a lot of musical liberties. I have a lot of ornaments in my Bach. So like everything was really, really thought out for me. So I've never really had any regrets, but I won't say that I play it the same way in performance. And that's the best thing about performance is you can always change it up. Based on, I told you Daisy was going to get rowdy, right? Like, I just know my cat so well. I could tell by her energy when she entered the room that she was going to get annoying. Hold on. Come here, my beautiful cat. Oh, my little cat. So I definitely like to vary it in performances, for sure. Because you want to, feel the vibe of the room and the audience and yourself that day. So that's all going to affect your musical interpretation. So you never want to be overly locked in. Sorry, I hope you guys can still hear me while I'm not on camera. Just tending to my cat. Making her even more of a brat by answering to her every whim. Okay, so what was I going to do? Oh, I was going to play Dall'Abaco. Okay, so I'm going to play this little Dall'Abaco etude. I think I've recorded it on YouTube. Every time I sit down to play, someone else asks a question, though. But I prefer the questions. You guys know I like to answer your questions. Your favorite historically informed performance ensembles? Do you listen to recordings from other Baroque cellists? So we actually got this question about listening to recordings just earlier in the stream. My favorite groups, Jordi Savall is my favorite figure in the whole early music world, so all of his ensembles. So he had a couple, he's had like gamba consorts, and then his orchestra that he runs, Nations something, I can't believe the name is escaping me, but I kind of can because I'm so bad with names and dates. But Jordi Savall's orchestra is probably my favorite. Le Concert des Nations, like the concert of the nations, is his group. Really, really like all of their recordings. I'm not super attached to any particular Baroque orchestra though, outside of them. Like, totally depends on who's in the orchestra that year and who's the conductor and stuff at that time. So I will say my favorite Bach cello suite recording is from my teacher, Phoebe Karai. I love her Bach. I heard her Bach before I ever knew her, studied with her, and loved it. And yeah, especially because period performance is so much more common in Europe than here. I feel like there's new ensembles and just like solo artists coming out all the time doing more period instrument stuff. So I'll like see a recording from someone I've never heard of and it'll be awesome. So it's always worth just exploring too. And so in terms of listening to recordings, I don't really, or I try to avoid it because, again, with historical performance, we study so many rules about how to be musical and how to shape things because the composers were not writing them in the score nearly as much as they did in the following years. So because of that, we know the musical conventions and how to phrase things musically on our own. We don't need to listen to a recording to know what to do there. And for me, for whatever reason, Baroque music just clicked in my brain instantly, even as a young cellist. Like it just made sense to me. So musicality was always the easiest part for me. I didn't feel like I had to go listen to recordings to get ideas. But I do think if you do listen to recordings to get ideas, listen to more than one and don't copy. Just get inspiration, get some thoughts, but don't rip off people's interpretation. I had someone kind of rip off my ornaments once, and it was not a classy move, I'll put it that way. And yes, my cat is a long-haired, they say she's medium-length hair, but she's pretty fluffy. and she is a diluted tortoise shell. She's got the torty sass for sure. Okay, now I'm really going to play this Dall'Abaco Etude. This is number 5. If you like this, I did record it on my YouTube channel, I'm pretty sure. So again, these are exercises, but I like to play them like little pieces. Dall'Abaco Etude. Are you going to launch a new album anytime soon? So no plans for a new album yet, but it was actually just at this time last year, like literally to the day, that I was recording my last album, Old Friends, with my friend Laura, which is Baroque violin sonatas. And if you ask me, that album has not gotten the attention that it totally deserves. I mean, we had great support for the fundraiser that we did for it. We reached our goal, which was really amazing. I think we even passed our goal. So we did get some great support on it in the fundraising stages of the album last year. But I think because all the people who pledged the fundraiser got a free copy of the album, not as many people have streamed it on Spotify and places like that. So I definitely recommend checking out that album, because Laura's my favorite violinist in the world. She's like, if you like my cello playing, like, you will love Laura's violin playing. She's like, I just think she's the best. So we recorded 3 violin sonatas, just cello and violin, so they're kind of more like duets. And it's called Old Friends. So if you go to Emily Davidson on Spotify, or if you just go to Old Friends Baroque, if you put Old Friends in Spotify, you're going to get a lot of albums. But if you put Old Friends Baroque, the album should come up. It has a pink cover. It's also iTunes, Apple Music, like wherever you get music. So keep enjoying that album in the meantime. And, you know, maybe another solo cello album will happen on some point. But there's already 2 of them, 2 solo cello albums, and now the duet one. So there's a lot of music to dig into. All right. Oh, I just see now that I had top chat on and not all chat. So if anyone sent a message that I missed, I'm really sorry. I had it set to the wrong thing. Okay, so I always stream for about an hour, so we're coming up on an hour. I'll probably play one more something, and then take any last questions, and then we'll be done for today. So thank you all for coming by, and if you came late, the stream is always archived, so it will be here for you to watch afterwards. What should I play? So I played Dall'Abaco, Bach, and Dall'Abaco, even though didn't play that much. I played a good variety. Sorry, I'm cutting my own head off here. I don't really want to play Bach. No offense, but it's just not what I'm feeling. But I don't know what I can pull out right now. Yeah, maybe the cat does want the air conditioning on. Not a bad point. All right, ships ahoy. Thanks for coming by. I can play this first Dall'Abaco, which is so beautiful. I'm just not convinced that I'm going to execute it very well. But again, like I said, you guys are so nice to me on these I haven't practiced in forever practice live streams. So I'll play this first Capriccio by Dall'Abaco. Just my fourth finger trills might be a little questionable, but I'm going to do my best. Yeah, it's been a while since I played that one. Nice. I had fun. It's a little sweaty, but not bad. Okay. All right, guys. So getting ready to wrap up. All right. So, good gut strings, yes. My favorite maker is Damien. I actually don't know how to pronounce his last name correctly, so I'm not even going to try, but I do know how to spell it. I have done this every time I've sat here. I keep tapping my cello with my bow. So Damien is the best, and his website is damienstrings.com. And you can buy, to start, just the top 2 strings, open gut, and then you can buy like larger brands that make the bottom strings, like Eudoxa or Parastro Gold Label make the bottom strings, but Damien also makes the bottom strings, and his are great. So you can buy a full set from him too, but gut strings are more expensive than steel strings, and steel strings are expensive enough, so it is a lot. And he's super helpful over email, like he can answer questions you have about different gauges or what would be best for you, what's most popular, and so on. So damienstrings.com is where, and I've only used his strings since 2008, so it's been a long while that I've been using Damien strings, and I really think they're the best. So I always recommend him when people ask. All right, guys. So pretty sure this is going to conclude our Q&A. This was a good balance of questions, but still actually playing, because I know I have not been playing as much, and you guys like to see that. So thank you so much for stopping by the stream or watching the replay, whichever. And again, I do these once a month, and they're all supported by my Patreon, which is patreon.com/EmilyPlaysCello. So if you're a fan of the channel, that's the best way to support me making these videos. But thank you guys so much for joining. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you all next time. Bye.